Hello, everybody, and good evening. I'm Dr. Charlotte Norton, Medical Director at the Slimming Clinic, here with you this evening to answer all your questions about medical weight loss, covering anything that you want to discuss, and obviously talking a little bit about medication as well, which I know lots of you have had lots of questions previously. I love it when these sessions are a bit interactive, when give me some questions live that you want me to answer, whether you're a patient of ours, whether you're thinking about being a patient, whether you're a patient of somebody else. If there's a question you want to ask about taking weight loss medication, about embarking on a medical weight loss program, then absolutely go ahead and do so. Happy to answer anything, whether no question is too silly, as they say, as that you might want to know the answer to. So please do go ahead. I've got a few questions that we've had sent in previously, so I can, or beforehand, so that I can answer as well. But yeah, please do feel free to ask me anything. A little bit about me for those who haven't maybe watched one of my lives before. So I've been working in medical weight loss now for quite some years, in fact just over 10 years. It's a real passion of mine, helping people lose weight, improve their health, feel better in themselves. And obviously in that time we've seen a real evolution of the options available to support weight loss efforts. So the spectrum of medication now available is much wider, and at the Slimming Clinic we offer a variety of medications. We've got weight loss tablets, which we've had and been prescribing for many years, and we also have the newer weight loss injections as well, which obviously we've been prescribing now more frequently. So for those of you who maybe don't know, obviously our service is all doctor led. So whether you have an appointment with one of our doctors or you go through our website to request an online prescription, it's always a doctor that reviews your medical information. They are the ones that make the decision on whether you are suitable and safe to prescribe. Maybe you're unsure of the dose, maybe you've picked the wrong dose, or picked medication that might not suit you. We've got a team of doctors who are really specialised in this, that are always the ones that review your prescription request. And obviously we have our own pharmacy as well, so we manage the process the full way. We know everything about the medication we're sending you, where it's sourced from, and what it's and that it's legitimate, coming from a genuine pharmacy. So that's a little bit about me and us. So let me start off with answering some of your questions that you sent in beforehand. So the first one that I've got here is, what do I do if I inject too much? So obviously, for those who maybe don't know, the weight loss injection, so we've got the two that we prescribe in weight loss: Wegovy, containing the drug semaglutide, and Mounjaro, containing the drug tirzepatide. Both of them come in a pre-filled injection pen. So you're not drawing up medication into a syringe or a needle. It comes in a pre-filled pen, and depending on your dose, and depending whether you're on a Wegovy pen or a Mounjaro pen, in essence, in a simplistic way, you affix a fresh needle to the pen each time, and you turn the pen to select the dose you inject. So usually, for the vast majority of the time, it's quite a fail-safe way to make sure you're selecting and injecting the right dose. But absolutely, this is a different type of a way to take medication. Sometimes people aren't used to it, and maybe you might have injected a bit too much. Now, obviously, depending on which pen, depends on how that could look. But usually you sort of turn it around to the point where you inject the dose you need, and it sort of stops at the limit. So to inject too much, you would have to almost inject the right amount and then go again. But if you have injected too much, then it really depends. If you're brand new to the medication and you inject a bit too much, you might find you get some more side effects than if you have been on the medication for a while and had a little bit too much dose. So the key thing is, if you inject too much, is not to panic, first of all. Generally, if you have a reaction to the medication, or if you've injected too much, your issues are going to come based in your stomach. So a big part of how this medication works is to it works in two ways. Number one, it works in the appetite control center of your brain to reduce how hungry you feel. But secondly, these injections have an effect on the gut, and they slow down how quickly food moves through the gut. So it can have side effects on the gut. It can make you feel nauseous. It can make you sometimes feel a bit bloated, sometimes make your stools a bit loose or a bit blocked up. Again, these are all side effects that are quite transient if you get them at all when you take them, and usually very manageable. If you inject a bit too much too soon, you might find that these side effects effects manifest. Now, the key thing to do is, as I say, not to panic, see how your body responds. The main issue is if you have taken slightly too much and your stomach and your gut doesn't like it, you might end up feeling nauseous or maybe vomiting, or you might end up having, very loose stools. And the key thing that we just want to avoid is dehydration. So if you are finding that it's led you to vomit, or it's making your stools very loose, and the key thing is to make sure that you maintain hydration. And obviously, if you're a patient of ours, then absolutely reach out. Our doctors would be happy to have a chat with you and talk about, anything you might be experiencing. But if you're finding yourself particularly unable to keep fluids down, then as per having, any sort of gastric issue where you're unable to keep fluids down, you might have to seek some medical support. But generally, this should be absolutely fine, and you should be able to self-manage at home. But if you do need to seek medical help, then again, it's really useful just to take along the pen so that the healthcare professional that sees you knows exactly what you've injected and can understand. But as I say, it's quite rare to inject too much. The key thing here, and again, this could come up, is sometimes, and we've seen this over the years that we've been prescribing both injections and tablet medication, is the idea that if you take a bit more, you'll lose more weight. And so that's not the case. Remember, these medications, tablets and injections, work by reducing your appetite. They don't make the fat melt off you, and as I've said before, that would be great if they did. They work by reducing your appetite. So by taking more, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose more weight. If your appetite's reduced, then so there should be no reason why you should want to take more. It's really important, especially with the injections, that you go as per the dosing regime, that you do at minimum 4 weeks at each dose before you consider going up. Even if you aren't having any side effects of taking the medication, even if you felt absolutely fine and not had any sort of any sort of side effects or unwanted effects, make sure you still do 4 weeks at each dose. It just gives your gut the chance to be used to the medication, so you avoid experiencing any side effects. And as I've said before, there's no race to the top. You can stay on the dose you're at, and there's also you will start losing weight from starting at day one of the lower dose. You don't need to rush to get to the top dose to start losing weight. Progress happens along the way. Everybody is different. We have treated hundreds of thousands of patients on weight loss journeys, and everybody's dosing regime, speed of a changing dose, it is individual. So again, there's absolutely no rush. So don't panic. See how you go, keep yourself hydrated, and reach out to medical support if you need it, I think would be my sort of main points about that. I'm going to go on to another question. I thought this was quite a good one, quite a quick one to answer. So, about taking your medication on holiday with you, will you get stopped at customs? Will it get confiscated? So, this is a really good question. We see it quite a bit. So, from two sides. So, where you've got the injections, these medications should be kept cold when you're not using them. So, ideally refrigerated, and ideally we want them between sort of 2 to 8 degrees, which is about fine for your home refrigerator. Maybe don't put it in the door of the refrigerator. Put it towards the back, especially if you've ordered multiple pens that you plan to use over the course of a few weeks to months. Put them towards the back of the fridge so they're not so subject to the door opening and closing, because once they're kept cold, they'll last as long as their expiry date. So if you're going on holiday and you plan to take multiple pens, maybe you're lucky enough to be going away for a while, and you want to take all your pens with you, you must make sure you keep them cold, because once they warm up, they then start to be limited in how long you can use them for. You've sort of got between a 4 to 6 week window, depending on which medication you are to use the medication, which should be absolutely fine, because every single pen has 4 doses, 4 weeks worth of dose. So you're able to use that absolutely fine. But obviously, if you're going to take several pens with you, you need to keep the ones that you plan to use in the future, i.e. you're not using in the next 4 weeks, cold. So will they get taken away from you? So again, for the vast majority of the time, we recommend with any prescription medication is to put it in your hold luggage as opposed to your hand luggage. All medication comes with a label affixed to it, which should have your name on it, which would match up with the name on your passport, ideally. And therefore, if anybody were to check it, they could see that medication is prescribed for you, which also helps. Also, we at the Slimming Clinic always can provide a letter for you to take when you travel as well, which shows again that this medication has been prescribed on a named basis for you, which you can again carry with you. Or if you have sourced medication from elsewhere, if you've got a copy of the prescription from the medication, then that can also be a really good thing to take with you. For our tablet medications, again, these again, take the box with you, take the label on the box which says your name, again, have a letter. So they should not be confiscated from you, because you should be traveling with proof that this medication is prescribed for you on a named basis. Taking all of that, putting it in your hold, you should be absolutely fine. However, if it happens, and we have heard of rare times that patients have had issues, then please do if you're a patient of ours, get in touch. We can talk around it, because obviously in some of these instances it's not your fault that the medication has been taken away. But if you are a patient of ours, reach out and we will give you a travel letter. No cost to that. We just send it to you, and then you can take that with you when you travel as well. Really handy. And maybe try and make sure that the name you order your medication under is the same as the name on your passport. But yeah, there shouldn't be a big problem. Next question is, I've seen some providers recommend special shampoos to combat hair loss. Do I need this? Okay, so this sparks the question about why potentially you could get hair loss on weight loss medication. Now, we've seen quite a lot of this come out of sort of the Ozempic craze. So obviously Ozempic is the name for one of the injection pens that contains semaglutide, the same drug as Wegovy. Ozempic is licensed for diabetes. Wegovy is licensed for weight loss. So we hear about Ozempic because Ozempic came to the market first and was used by people in an unlicensed way or an off-label way for weight loss. So now what we know is obviously these medications are really effective. They work really well to help patients lose weight. We see great weight loss results both in our own patients, but also when we look at the medical studies and clinical trials, to some degree almost matching with some forms of bariatric surgery. So really good weight loss results. And sometimes when you're losing weight, especially if you lose weight quite rapidly, so talking sort of more than a kilo a week, it actually puts your body into a little bit of a stress response. If we sort of think, in a very basic way about the sort of caveman fight or flight, if you're starting to lose your bodily stores of fat, i.e. your energy stores, your cope through, the cold winter stores, then it can sometimes put your body into a bit of a stress response. And that can have an effect on hair. And that's what we've seen with Ozempic, why people have ended up losing hair or having hair loss, is because that stress puts your hair follicles and your hair goes through different cycles in itself. And what rapid weight loss or stress in the body pushes that hair towards the shedding phase quite quickly. So therefore lots of head shares at once, as opposed to sort of at different times, which is why you can sort of get times that you're losing hair. So obviously that's not great, but it's not the medication as such stopping the hair. So as long as weight loss is maintained well, your hair will grow back, and it's not a permanent loss of hair. But also we're seeing people maybe not eating a varied and balanced enough diet, maybe missing some of the key vitamins and minerals that are really important for hair, things like your seleniums, your zincs, your magnesium that are important for hair as well. So again, it's important to have that diet. So there are specialized shampoos out there that can help with hair loss. Now, these sometimes work in a different way, because actually the way the medication can cause hair loss is through this stress response. It's not a case of the hair follicles have been subject to some sort of change which has resulted in the hair falling out. So quite a lot of the shampoos can be caffeine based, or they can have certain types. Some hair loss can come from a metabolite of testosterone, actually, which even in women can have an effect on hair follicles, and they can help to prevent that. So not always do these shampoos necessarily have an effect or treat the cause of why you may be losing hair with weight loss medication. Usually it just comes back on its own as things start to settle down on your weight loss journey. That being said, using a caffeine based shampoo, there's some really good evidence about how that helps support hair growth, fullness and thickness of your hair. So it won't cause you any issue to use a sort of a caffeine style based shampoo, but you certainly wouldn't need that to reach out to some of the more expensive or medicated shampoos for this reason, unless you have another reason for the hair loss. So I would definitely take a moment before I purchase one, just to make sure that I was buying the right type of one for the reason that you'll find that you're losing hair. If it's something that predated you starting the weight loss medication, if it's something you've noticed maybe as a part of aging or changing, that you've having hair loss, can be associated in hormonal changes in women, then there's obviously you might look in it down one avenue. Whereas if it's just been a response to the stress of the weight loss, then really by your weight loss settling down, the hair should grow back. But again, something like a caffeine-based style one will be absolutely fine to help support the growth, but also add in a good multivitamin to your diet, alongside trying to eat a diet that's really rich in all your different vitamins and minerals, alongside maintaining that calorie deficit that you are doing to help you lose weight. Lovely. Okay. Right. Next one. How do I avoid muscle loss? So this is a good question. So again, when our body loses weight, obviously, when we say we want to lose weight, what we want to lose is fat mass, don't we? We don't want to lose our bone mass. We don't want to lose our muscle mass, because we want tone and shape and strengthen our bodies ongoing. So what we want to lose is our fat mass. And sometimes the body isn't always as clever, that when we create a calorie deficit in the body, sometimes it can actually not just burn fat, but it can burn muscle. And you find that actually some of your weight loss can be from losing muscle mass, which isn't necessarily ideal. So some of the ways to help prevent muscle loss are diet, and some of them are exercise. So obviously resistance training, and by that you haven't got to go to the gym and pick up a heavy barbell, but just using your muscles, in training at home, or with instead of sort of a cardio based exercise program, doing something resistance based that is using a little bit of weight, but absolutely that can have a real positive effect on your muscles and help to maintain them. But also making sure you get adequate protein. Now, you don't have to go out there and start buying protein shakes unless you're a training athlete. Just making sure that you're getting enough protein in your diet can be perfectly adequate. And that is looking at, so if you eat everything, if you're an omnivore and you're not a vegetarian or vegan, obviously you've got your meat options, which again we would say for the vast majority of time try and keep those your more leaner versions, sort of your poultry, your sort of chicken, turkey, that sort of thing, your leaner red meats. You've got eggs. Eggs are a great source of protein in the egg white. You've got beans and pulses and legumes, which are also good sources of protein. Peas and broccoli are good vegetables that have it in. And for vegans and vegetarians, obviously pescatarians, you've got fish. Vegans and vegetarians, you've got some of the alternative things, your tofus. There's a little bit of protein in things like cheese, more so yogurt. So there's lots of ways, again, your pulses and your beans, and some, to a degree, that some nuts and seeds as well. So there's lots of ways in your diet you can make sure to get adequate protein, to make sure that you're helping helping your body have enough protein, because what that does is it means that it keeps your muscles turning over as opposed to being broken down when you're losing weight. So but as I say, no need to rush out and buy a really expensive protein shake, but just to make sure you're getting some good and healthy proteins in your diet. And we know that combining proteins are really good for dieting, because generally proteins take a little bit longer to be broken down in the digestive system than carbohydrates do. So again, naturally they help you feel fuller for longer. And when you eat protein alongside a carbohydrate, it also slows down how quickly the carbohydrate's broken down in as well. So having like a poached egg on toast is a really good option for a breakfast, because you're getting your protein from the egg white, you're getting healthy fat from the egg, and you're getting some carbohydrate from the toast as well. But obviously the protein helps to slow down the breakdown of the carbohydrates. So again, you get that longer sustained release of energy in the body. So I hope that answers that one. So just looking back at the last, do I need to prime my pen for every injection or just the first one? Okay, another really good question. And obviously relevant to the weight loss injections, not tablets. So again, as I've mentioned, if you haven't seen them before, the medication comes as a pen. And honestly, if you're thinking about starting the medication and you're worried about injecting yourself, number one, the pens are really easy to use. Once you've done the first one and you've got the knack, you're absolutely fine. And you're away you go. And it's what's called a subcutaneous injection. So it's just going into the fat layer under the skin. So you've only got to go a couple of millimeters past the skin to get into the subcutaneous fat fat tissue. As I say, if you can pinch an inch, that's a good place to inject yourself. And the needle is so thin, it's almost the width of a piece of hair. It's a small needle. It's not like a big needle that you might have a blood test done with. And again, if it's more than a little tiny sharp scratch when you inject yourself, I mean, some people say they don't even feel anything. It really isn't a daunting prospect. And once you've done it once, it's only once a week, you'll find that you're used to it. Sometimes people ask somebody at home to do it for them, a husband, spouse, partner, whoever you have at home that can also do it for you, potentially, if you feel a bit nervous the first time injecting yourself. So the first time you use the pen, you do have to do something called prime it. And what that essentially means is you just need to make sure that the liquid, the medication, comes out the pen, because you don't want to be injecting yourself and nothing coming out. So the pens always come with a little bit of extra medication in them to allow for this. But you only need to prime the first time you use the pen. You don't need to do it before every dose. Again, depending on whether you're on a Wegovy pen or a Mounjaro pen, essentially you put your fresh needle on. Important, use a fresh needle every time. Fresh needle on the pen. You turn the dose selector just a small amount, and then you press the button on the end which dispenses the medication. And what you should see is a small little jet of medication coming out of the end of the needle, or maybe just at the end of the needle, a little droplet appearing. And that tells you the medication is flowing through the pen, and go ahead and do your injection. Sometimes you might have to do 2 or 3 primes to see it come through. Again, don't be afraid of that. There is extra medication in the pen to make sure that you can do that process, and then you're fine to inject yourself. But no, you don't need to do it every time. And as I say, it's a really good idea to make sure that you change the needle every time. If you buy Wegovy, it comes with the 4 needles that you need. Mounjaro, we supply you with those needles, so there's no need to worry, you get those needles. Sharps as well. So obviously we don't put needles in the bin, the regular bin, because your poor bin man might end up stabbing himself with your needle, and that's a contamination risk, and also not very pleasant for anybody else in your own household either. So you always get a sharps bin to dispose of the needles. So where after you've used the needle, you just put it in that sharps bin, and when that sharps bin is full, that's the time to get a new one or to get rid of it. And there are lots of different ways you can do that. If you're a patient of ours, we are happy to take it back, and we can give you a free post envelope to do so. You can contact your local council, you can walk into a community pharmacy. There are lots of ways that you can get rid of your sharps bin when it's full, and then it's appropriately incinerated and dealt with in terms of your clinical waste. In terms of your pen, again, you want to make sure you're disposing of it correctly, and there's actually some great pen recycling schemes that again make sure that the pen can be disposed of correctly, and we are putting medication in the regular general waste. So that's sort of all the questions I've had sent in before today. So thank you for those. I've got a few more minutes to join you here. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have about the medications. If anyone's watching, they want to pop me another question, I'd be more than happy to answer it. But I guess the thing that we, every time I've done these lives, the thing that I've said, obviously these weight loss injections come into the market. I've done a great thing for medical weight loss, because not many people knew about or felt comfortable with the idea of taking medication to help them lose weight. That's either because you didn't want to take the medication, or you felt there was a stigma about it, or you didn't know how to find the right support. So obviously weight loss medication now is far more commonplace. We hear about it in the media. We hear lots of different people happy to share their stories, both individual patients, but also people in the public eye, which have done a great thing, because using a tool to help you lose weight, whether that is a diet plan, or a personal trainer, or it's taking medication, by embarking on your chosen weight loss journey, you are doing a positive thing, because at the end of the day, the ultimate result is to help you lose weight, to help you feel better, hopefully look better, and also to improve health. We know that carrying excess weight for a length of time can have a detrimental effect on our health, and we all want to live as long as we can most of the time. So absolutely, it's a vital tool. And at the Slimming Clinic, one thing that's really key for us is providing that support alongside the medication. There are a variety of places you can go to buy this medication now, and you can really chase the best discount and the cheapest price out there, and move move between different providers. But what's really important, and what we've seen both from our own patients and patients that maybe have come to us from elsewhere, is actually having the support around the medication, knowing who to ask a question to, knowing that there is a face behind the medication. All our doctors who write your prescriptions, you see their name there, you can find out all about them, their registrations, etc. You can find out all about our pharmacy, so that we're there to give that support. And whether you choose to go online through our prescription set weight service and you sort of get more resources online, or you take one of our appointments, or you join our Slimming Club. So we have a new membership area, the Slimming Club, which is for patients taking this weight loss medication, whether they're ours or you get that medication from elsewhere, to really give you those tools and the support you need around the medication to really get the most out of it. When you make both the financial and the willpower commitment, you're going to do this, you're going to go out there, you're going to try this medication, you want to get the best results out of it, don't you? You want to be losing the weight. You want this to be the last time you embark on losing weight. So having that support is really key, and we pride ourselves on that at the Slimming Clinic, that you've got those different levels of support around you to make sure you get the best out of the medication, and to make sure that you're picking the right dose and that you're safe and suitable for it. So thank you for joining me this evening. And if you're watching this, you didn't manage to catch it live this evening, but you're watching it thereafter, and there is a question you want to ask, pop it in the comments on the video, or get in touch with us, and we'd be more than happy to give you any help and support. And it's never a bad time to start, whether you're thinking about starting, or maybe you've and actually it brings me to one last thing that I see come up a bit, and I will discuss this just in case anybody listening. We sometimes see that people get nervous about their BMI. So obviously, to start the medication, there is a BMI cutoff. So you have to have a certain BMI to start treatment, and that needs to be a BMI of 27, alongside having a reason that weight might be having an effect on your health. That could be a raised waist circumference, it could be slightly raised blood pressure, slightly raised cholesterol, anything there. Can be your ethnicity, because some ethnicities are more at risk than others, or your BMI has to be over 30. But once you're on treatment, obviously the goal of treatment is to get you back in a healthy BMI. So don't worry that once your weight comes below those BMIs, that the medication would be stopped. That's not the case. And also, if you've been a patient of ours and you've lost weight previously, use the medication, but you're gaining weight, even if your BMI isn't yet back up at the high levels, but actually, you're getting on to a stone to 2 that you've regained, then again, we're happy to be there to support you, because what we don't want is you to get to that healthy weight and then have to go all the way back up to a heavily overweight weight to restart treatment. So again, if you're unsure about whether you can or can't have the medication, reach out, and that's what our team of doctors can assess for you. Esther, you've written, how do I find out about an order which hasn't yet been received? So this is actually really, obviously, Esther, thank you for writing this comment. A member of the team will respond directly to you, but we now have a patient portal. So for all of our patients, you can log into the website, into your own portal area, where you can see upcoming appointments, where you can see any orders you may have had. You can book an appointment, you can message us directly through there, you can message us through the live chat on the website. So there are a few ways that, one, you can see where your order is, and also either message directly through there or through the live chat on the website, and someone will be able to get back to you on that. So again, there's a good way for anybody watching who might want to have a look in their portal. If you haven't already, then log into that with the email address you've given us previously, and you should be able to log in and have a look there. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining me this evening. It's lovely again, and thank you for those who sent your questions in before, and I hope everybody has a lovely evening, and thank you again for joining me.